unfortunately, sort of lack of available really interesting material. No one's taken care of, like the Star Wars, the idiots. Because all the female-driven shows, and it's like everything they wanted to deal with, and no mention whatsoever about doing a good story. So it's all diversity, and women need to stand up.
It's crap.
It's crap. And also just taking care of stuff that download a bunch of stuff and never watch this. And it's like racking up a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays, and 6 months later the cellophane's still on the thing. So I figured it's time to actually check out something that I've actually brought up quite a few times with various things with regard to Disney's remaking everything under the sun. The one movie that demands to be remade and updated, they refuse to even acknowledge exists if they had their ways. Song of the South. Well, if you're overseas, you can find Song of the South all over the damn place. In fact, I got just got a download of it. Supposedly a Blu-ray rip. I don't know, but there's some jumps in quality here and there, so I think it's cobbled together. But either way, watch it last night. But before we do that, a bit of an unboxing here. So trying to bring up to date our viewing options away from eBay. This thing is really wrapped up here. The outer bag. Then we got an inner bag with tape all over the damn thing. And inside we have, let's just lay it all out here. Original series, first season. Original series, second season. And third season, all on Blu-ray. And unfortunately, this thing was on the thing, so I might auction that off later on eBay myself to see if I can recoup a little money back. Anyway, so Song of the South. One of the main things is, this movie really as offensive as some people seem to think it is? I'm talking to you, Bill Cosby. Yeah, and going through, and it was 1949, I think this movie was. Let me check IMDb real quick. Late 40s, nothing else, but 1946, actually. Let me just pull this up on the side here. And yep, that was and we are opened up after a rather typical mid 40s song with highs and like we can't even understand the words. I still turned the subtitles off anyway. But I rather like subtitles when I have to. But proper Southern family going down to meet Grandma on her plantation, and Hattie McDaniel, this is not many years after she won an Oscar for Gone with the Wind, for playing essentially the same part. Nothing from her perspective. Hey, it's a paycheck, and she does a good job at it. But it should be noted that you kind of get the impression we're talking the old South, but we're not really told what year. Is slavery still in effect, or is this now into sharecropper thing? Because there's no reference to slaves, obviously. That wouldn't be proper, to bring that up. Supposedly a family film of the mid '40s, and this gal, the server there, Aunt Tempe. I'll just keep that up. She seems happy enough. She doesn't seem to be, particularly oppressed or whatever. But and this also comes up later because as we go through and they got all usual thing, all the black field workers. Let's put them that way. Since we can't say for sure if they're still slaves or referring to the part where, but they seem happy enough there. No one's being abused. No one's being whipped. I will say, the kid, Johnny, is an ugly little kid. I'm sorry, Bobby Driscoll, but as a kid, you were ugly, ugly, ugly. Especially when you're crying. Oh, God. Ugly crier.
Oh, come on.
Well, he was. I'm sorry.
All kids are cute.
Not in this case.
Are you kidding?
But they get up, they pull the plantation, and there's one kid, Toby. Yes, one of the black kids on the plantation there. Immediately best friends, like kids do, Secondly, let's be best friends because we're the same age and we got nothing else to do with. No one else around here is our age, so yeah. So that and right at the end, of course, we eventually meet Uncle Remus, sort of the titular main subject of the movie, because it's based on the Tales of Uncle Remus, which is sort of America's answer to Aesop. All of the black characters are very nice, upstanding people. It's the whites who are the jackasses, okay? I mean, either just, kind of clueless, like mom, or, grandma's a little bit haughty, but, decent person. But you got the white trash kids down the road who are about ready to drown a puppy, It's like, Uncle Remus is probably the most noble character of the bunch, In a way, it kind of fits the old, magic Negro argument, or he's the one who just so swoops in and everything is fixed because of our magic Negro, And there's one article written by a black guy, so don't get on me with that. I'm quoting, but I mean, other than the I won't say stereotypical dialect. It really is period dialect of that, and really not as bad. We're not quite to step and fetch it levels. Okay. Still, like the lyrics to Zippity Doodah. It's true. It's everything is satisfying. You don't hear that coming out of Step and Fetch It. So all the black are actually quite quite literate in their and certainly whip out the big words that they have to. Now with the cartoon animals, then you're starting to push it a little bit. But they're cartoon animals. They're supposed to be exaggerated forms of reality, okay? But I think a lot, the outcry, and it's still a happy movie at the end of the whole thing, and it is a product of its time for the most part. Like I said, this is 1946, and Gone with the Wind was 39. So we're talking, let me just call up Hattie McDaniel's page here. She died in 52. Yeah, Gone with the Wind was 1939. So we're only talking 7 years. Oh, she was one doula. Okay. So we're not talking very far from arguably one of the biggest films ever made. So. And mind you, Gone with the Wind, they were very definitely slaves. Okay, we're talking depicting the Civil War. So in a way, I guess Song of the South is kind of like the family-friendly version of Gone with the Wind, I guess. But I think that one thing, probably why that nobody succeeded in having Gone with the Wind banished from the official record is because those Oscars they racked up. Kind of hard to ignore that. Whereas Song of the South, I think the only Oscar it won was Song of the Year for Zippity Doodah. There's no real lyrics to that. It's like you got the the Zippity Doodah, and then everything's satisfied, and then you just start all over Zippity Doodah. It's I should check to see what was the competition for Song of the Year that year. But I think I'll do that now. Why not? We're not doing anything. Let's see. Awards. almost something like it would not take much really to take a swipe at this movie again, remake it, and fix the things that are problematic about it. And you got to concern about the fact that these people are being portrayed all happy and all that stuff. They're going to be depressed and slaves. Okay, fine. Well, let's address the slavery issue. Let's nail down for sure what what year was this movie set in. Oh, something here. The guy who played Uncle Remus, James Baskett. Originally, he was studying pharmacology, but had to drop out for financial reasons to start working as an actor. Was in Bill Robinson's company, Mr. Bojangles. Moderate success on the stage. Moved to Hollywood, worked in a few films. He originally auditioned for a bit part of voicing a talking butterfly in Song of the South. But after looking at hearing his voice, Walt Disney himself said, he wanted to test for Uncle Remus after seeing and hearing the voice. And no, they've got better things for you. I met with him personally, had him tested for the role of Remus, and he also did the voice of the butterfly and Brer Fox, and naturally Uncle Remus. And he did a temp track for Brer Rabbit, but Disney said, told his daughter Ruth that Baskett was the best actor, believed to be discovered in years. And so this was the first Hollywood portrayal of players of a black actor as a non-comic character in a leading role in a film meant for general audiences. So in that respect, this is much of a landmark film. He was pretty much the hero of the story. And this is 1946. And in fact, he won an honorary Academy Award in '48. And unfortunately, 4 months later, he died from heart failure resulting from diabetes. Let's see. But Brennan maintained friendship with Disney. So. Said that the two became close friends like brothers. They were Disney campaigned for Baskett to be given an Academy Award for his performance. He worked almost wholly without direction, and devised the character of Remus himself. And I guess the Academy sort of compromised and gave him the honorary Oscar. But okay, here it was, movie is based on the tales of African Americans. It's recorded by historian Joel Chandler Harris. Wrote the stories and in dialect spoken by African Americans in Reconstruction era Georgia. So we're talking, if we just go by this, then we're talking Reconstruction, means after the war. Which means, no, these were not slaves. They were working there. Because that kind of fills a gap when later on, when Mama tells Remus to stay away from Johnny, don't tell him any more of these fool stories. And Uncle Remus is packing up and actually leaves for a bit. He gets on a wagon and is riding out of town. It's like, okay, clearly we're not talking slavery because he would not have the opportunity to just leave. So stick that in your craw and smoke it. They're anti-Song of the Southers because these were not slaves. They used to be slaves because it hadn't been that long since the war, clearly. We're talking one of the plantations that wasn't ravaged by Sherman. I'm pretty sure that the name of General Sherman is still reviled in Georgia to this day, and for fairly good reason. But yeah, I think if you want to, if you're going to complain of the movie and Disney's remaking everything in freaking sight for no good reason, like, you really want to go into the whole thing of doing a Lion King style remake of Robin Hood? The concept of you anthropomorphic animals dressed up in Ren Fair gear barely works as a cartoon, really. You want to try and make it photorealistic and all that. It's oh god, it's going to be a horror show. I don't care how horny the writers of the Mary Sue are for their little cartoon foxes. It's like, and I just realized I haven't had the microphone over here the whole time. So, in fact, it's facing the wrong damn direction. I have to redo the whole thing. But,
No.
well, that's just, I'll
your fault.
check the song. I'll check the sound here, but it should be okay. But now we can hear you properly. So let's get this over here. Fortunately, not enough room on this desk for anything set up properly here. Another reason for someone to step up is to get us into a place so I can set this up so it'll stay right. So,
All the more reason for the
well,
VA to grow brain cell.
yeah, but as I, my big thing is, Disney. It's look, you've got the rights. How about just make a freaking Robin Hood movie? Forget the CGI animals. Okay. The closest anyone has come to making just a straight movie on the Legend of Robin Hood without some kind of revisionist whatever thing has been like Mel Brooks' Men in Tights. That's the closest we've gotten to a straight Robin Hood story. Before that, I'm not sure even Kevin Costner's counts because you're still talking a lot of add-on stuff, like Morgan Freeman's characters. Like, there was never a Muslim character, and frankly, his behavior is very atypical of any Muslim at the period, especially considering it was during the Crusades. Now, before that, I think you pretty much have to go to either one of the TV series, which includes Mel Brooks when things were rotten. Anybody remembers that old jewel? And then leapfrogging all the way back to Errol Flynn, The Adventures of Robin Hood. Like, poor old Robin of Locksley has been mangled more than any other, character in the annals of English history, or legend, really. So it's like, come on. It is time to get off this kick of doing CGI remakes of everything they've got under the sun. And just do a straight movie. That's why I was kind of intrigued by Mulan, frankly, because it was getting rid of all the the cartoon dragon nonsense, which kind of stuff that I had no interest in, frankly. Just a straight telling of the legend. Okay, that I want to see. That's apparently what they were going with. They're still taking liberties that are ticking off some Chinese people with the setting in the time period. But hell, would it help if they put in a CGI dragon voiced by Eddie Murphy and all the stupid songs? Would that help you? No, I don't think so. But yeah, I think, this is the one movie, I think, in the entire catalog of Disney has that demands a remake. And if it still doesn't quite, then have it, or do a double thing, do a proper remake where you do address some of the issues of the time. The Uncle Remus stuff apparently was during the Reconstruction period. So address the fact that these guys were recently freed slaves. They're sharecroppers, okay? That Uncle Remus apparently was the leather worker for the plantation. That he got his own place. He's got his own cabin, and he's doing stuff down there. So but you really want to address it? Okay, show how the other workers who we never even get names of. We just see them going back and forth to the fields, singing and Let's address their living conditions and how well or how badly they were treated by the system. Okay. Even if you don't want to say that these particular ones are mistreated, you can say this is one of the plantations where they treat them fairly. But other plantations, they treat them like they're worse than they were slaves. Go ahead and address the issue. But don't just sweep the whole thing under the rug, okay? It's still a major film in Disney's life. There's not an insignificant, animated short, okay, that they can ignore. I think a large part is just, the fact that they do have the black characters talking in the kind of stereotypical, Southern eyes don't know what you do, ma'am. Yes, that kind of thing sets off certain people's, alert signals. But these people, they get over themselves and kind of look at what is being portrayed. Don't pay attention to the syntax. What is actually being shown here? Because again, all the black characters, at least the ones we get to know, which really only amounts to Remus and Aunt What's-Her-Face, Hattie. They're the most upstanding group characters, and Toby, of course. They're the most stand-up people in the whole damn movie, So you got to tweak the cartoons a bit. It's not like Brer Fox is being shown as a role model. This is not a character you want to emulate, so I don't, there shouldn't be a problem with him being so over the top and, almost like, practically a character out of Amos and Andy, but, But yeah, Disney, just pull your heads out of your butts. You really need something, and this would be a big to do. Do a remake of Song of the South. And point out that you will be the remake will address the cultural issues of the time, and maybe a few things that linger to this day. What few there are, considering, let's see, we've had a couple of black Supreme Court justices, a black president. We've got black congressmen all over the place. A couple of black senators from time to time. Institutionalized, segregation is against the law. Where it still remains, it is against the law now. Okay, it used to be enshrined as they're like, no, they can't do it anymore. So let's also acknowledge the progress that has been made and stop trying to overturn it so you can have a cause to march against. That sort of thing, So, it's like, don't enable the cultural Munchausen syndrome we're dealing with now. Yes, we're about to go off on a bit of a tangent here, because I think a large part of this is you got a bunch of these idiots who have been sold on the notion that the 60s was so great, with everyone marching against the cause and making a difference and speaking truth to power. I hate that fucking phrase. And I know, no, not one, but. And, I hate to, again, you're going to jumbling for quoting Marilyn Quayle, but it's like, not everyone in the 60s dodged the draft or, burned their bras or protested, okay? In fact, most people didn't. They went about their lives. Watch the 6 o'clock news. Watch Uncle Walter talking about how, such and such is going on in the Suez. Oh, dear. I'm waiting for waiting for Jackie Gleason to come on, Like the 60s weren't all that, okay? I remember a little bit of it. I was only, I was born in 64. So I can still remember a couple of years of the 60s. It was still, a large part of it was still, Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harrietville, okay? But they've got this thing in their mind that they got to fight for a cause. Well, most of the causes were solved a long time ago. Well, they're gonna undo all the progress so they can fight it all over again. Remember when the first Gulf War was starting up, and yet idiots out in the streets going, "Hell no, we won't go." Nobody's asking you. It's an all-volunteer army, dipshit. No one's getting drafted. Go back to your basement, and do a little, online warrior shit and the bulletin board. Okay, you're not fooling anybody. You're not impressing anybody. I know I keep doing that. It's empty, but I think it's what we're dealing with right now. It's like is they can't just sit back and equal pay for equal work. That's been the law of the land for over 50 years. Kennedy signed it into law. And the Civil Rights Act, it's like when they threw a hissy fit about the Supreme Court saying they okay, we can relax the Voting Rights Act stuff down in the South. They've corrected it. No, you can't do that. You got to keep the hammer on it. They fixed it. Move on. I find it ironic that some of the Democrats want to continue to punish the South for the Civil War when it was the Democrats who started the Civil War in the first damn place. They were the party of slavery and the Klan. And they're the ones who seceded. And now they're the ones who want to punish the South because the South finally came to senses and started voting Republican. Because these guys don't have our best interest in heart. I'm going to cut that part.
Might as well cut out the F-bomb, too.
But, no. Basic, It's to strike a bit of a blow for getting back on course. Disney, if you got to remake something, remake Song of the South. It ain't that bad. All right? Bill Cosby's in jail. He cannot have any more say over what, you're going to ban this movie now. Oh, no, I'm going to hold my breath till it in dark blue. It's, I mean, if you want, it's been just like Whoopi Goldberg, when Warner Brothers was releasing some of the older cartoons, the ones that are a bit stereotypical in some ways. I won't bother trying reenacting one of those because there's one in particular that comes to mind that is patently offensive. I'll give it that much because it does go into step and fetch territory with Bugs Bunny as one in the scene. But Whoopi Goldberg did a little intro for this release, and said, yes, these were attitudes at the time. They are offensive to us now. They are probably a little bit offensive then, but they're really now. But this is a part of our history. Let's acknowledge it. Let's not just throw it all out. Do the same thing with Song of the South. Say, look, this is not a minor movie, but yes, there are certain things that don't fit our attitudes now. We've known better. We're going to do a remake and address those issues, but this is still a bit of a landmark movie for these reasons, like James Beckett being the first heroic black lead in a major Hollywood movie. That's a strike for equality right there. Okay. In a way, it's kind of he's kind of a Jackie Robinson type, and we're going to just sweep it under the rug because you don't like the way he talks in the movie. Well, newsflash. It ain't Blazing Saddles. You ain't going to start talking like Cleavon Little. You're not going to start talking like Bart in there, So, I'm sorry. You said you went to. Well, the family secret. My grandmother is Dutch. Not going to work. Okay. So let's just like I said, it's available mainly from overseas. You can actually get Laserdiscs and Blu-rays and DVDs from overseas of Song of the South. So it's a little hypocritical of them too, because they won't market it stateside in their own native land, but they'll certainly sell it overseas. And it should be noted that some of these overseas cultures, like China, which are so hankering to get all that Chinese money, which we only get 10% of the take anyway. Horribly racist country. I'm sure somebody has seen this commercial. The very recent commercial in China, where nice Chinese girls doing her laundry, and this kind of hardy-looking black man comes in. She stuffs him into the washing machine with the laundry, and the second comes out, and he comes out as a nice light-skinned Chinese boy. These are the people we're trying to cater to. Yeah, we're talking blatant racism. A lot of these monocultures are like that. So before you start saying the United States is horribly racist, bull, we are probably one of the least because we have this diverse culture. We have these different components in there. So yeah, there might be a few prejudices here and there, but they're not very long-standing. They're not very malicious. I mean, sure as hell nobody will talk about it in public, but I don't see Maytag doing a commercial like this. And because we have all these people, this is the kind of thing with like the way you deal with the racism is thing in media. It was like the earliest thing I heard was Robert Culp saying to Bill Cosby for I Spy, the way we're going to address it is to not address it. It's just perfectly normal. We're two friends. We're doing a job together, and that's it. And yeah, that's the way. You don't make a big deal of it. You just this is normal. You don't think it's normal? What's wrong with you? That's how you do it. That's how Star Trek did it originally. You got Lieutenant Uhura there. Why? You got a problem with Lieutenant Uhura? Why? Did she open something wrong? Well, she's what? Come on, finish a sentence. That's how you do it. Instead, now we've basically taken a giant leap backwards because these people who think they're so enlightened have decided that, no, we need to make a horrible big deal about this because this is so unjust. No, it's not. You would just not been paying attention, okay? And you happen to live in a society where most of these problems were largely solved before you were born. Sorry, you missed out on the 60s, okay? You need to find something else to give your life some meaning, okay? Tearing down was built before, and trying to build it back up doesn't work very well. Because you also tear down this trust that was built up in the previous thing. And that's not as easy to build back up. Okay? So all you've done is made for a more cynical society and probably set back race relations a good 50 years. Congratulations, guys. I think I better wrap that up here. So, PayPal, Patreon down below. We've got a little under a week here in Super 8 until we got to go moving out somewhere else. Not sure where. If the stimulus check shows up, which who knows when, it could be this afternoon, could be sometime next, who knows. But
we could end up camping out.
We could wind up camping out in the car again for a while, but at least the weather's picking up. It's now keeping up nice. We just got to find a quiet spot. We're not going to be bothered. The state is opening back up on Sunday, supposedly. Is apparently thing about the protests. And notice how when the lefties protest, it's all hailed and it's always the fault of the person being protested. But when more center-right people start protesting, oh, there's something wrong with it. It's being orchestrated. Somebody's pulling the strings. This is a conspiracy. Come on. People are tired of staring at each other and binge-watching stories, and they're starting to binge-watch stuff they don't care about anymore. It's, I want to get out. Please, let my people go. All right, that's enough. We will talk at you later.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. M-I-C.
See you real soon.
K-E-Y.
Why? Because we like you.